Yo, 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 yo. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Standard 81 podcast. My name is Sincere, and we are back again with another video. But before we get started, let's go ahead and take that quick 30-second break so that we can get our minds right. And I'll be back with you here in 3, 2, and 1. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, we are ready for this discussion. Anyways, if you like what I do and what I talk about, go ahead and give me that. Go ahead and give me that like. If you don't like what I do and you don't like what I talk about, go ahead and give me a dislike. Either way it goes, it's engagement, and I appreciate it 100%. As well as if you like the stuff that I am talking about and you're looking forward to hearing the stuff that I have to say on a week-to-week basis, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can be notified on when I am putting out videos, which is every Monday and Wednesday, and then at other times as I see fit. As well as comment down below and let me know what you think about the content, and share this with somebody that you think needs to hear it. Without any further ado, let's get into it. The process. Now, I am going to be talking about a process that I have recently going into, and tell you the pros of doing it the way that I have been doing it thus far, and what I think you guys and who are out there dating and looking for relationships and looking to marry can grasp from this particular process. And I want to throw a couple of caveats out there. Number one, I am talking about strictly heterosexual relationships as well as monogamous one-to-one relationships. I'm not talking about open relationships. I'm not talking about polyamory. I am not talking about any of that. I am talking from a merely Christian and heterosexual scheme, one-to-one. Okay? So, with all the caveats out of the way, let's get into it. The process starts with a few things. Number one, knowing what it is you want. But before I get into this any further, words mean something. Words mean things. So let's look up the word process and figure out what the word process means. Here we go. It means to progress and to advance. Something to go on. A continuing of something natural or a biological activity or function, a series of actions conducting up into an end point, the course of something, summonings, mandates, or some type of legal action. And the last one is a prominence or a projecting piece of a structure or an organic system, right? So that is what the word process means. But the one I want to highlight the most is probably the second or third one within the definition, which is a series of actions or operations proceeding to an end, right? Because that's what we're really looking at when it comes to mating and dating. You are looking for somebody to get to the end. But see, here's the problem. We oftentimes, and I've said this before, we oftentimes think that the marriage is the end goal. It is the end goal for a certain process, within dating, within dating. But marriage in and of itself is a whole brand new process that you have to turn the page of and begin the process of being married. Now, I'm not here to talk about marriage because I haven't been married and I can't tell you what the process of is of being married, but I think now I have some proper insight of how to go about getting to the point where you're looking to potentially get engaged, and looking to marry an individual. And here it is, which is taking me back to point number one, knowing what the process is. And it starts with a word that you hear all the time in these dating and mating spaces, which is intent. What is the intent for the process you are developing? Now, mind you, I am talking about marriage and long-term relationships. So I'm going to say you need to go into it knowing that your process is looking for somebody. Your intent is to look for somebody with potential wife or husband potential. Wife or husband potential. He who finds a wife finds a great thing and wins favor with the Lord. It doesn't say who finds a woman, he who finds a girlfriend, he who finds a wife. So fellas, the women you should be talking to should have the attributes and the characteristics of a good wife. Not just a girl you like, or not of your preferred preferences as far as looks, or maybe even some financial status and social status to some, because I know most guys don't really care about finances and social status as much. And ladies, you shouldn't just be looking at a guy merely just off the basis off of how much money he has and how good he looks, because that can lead you astray as well. See, oftentimes we get confused when we see things on paper and we think part of the process is just the things we prefer. When really part of the process and the intentionality should be the morals, characters, and values that a person possesses that are going to stick with you long term. That needs to be the focus of it. That needs to be the thing that you are looking at outside of the necessity of the other things, which is the physical attraction and the financial stability. And when I say financial stability and looks, I am talking about, hey, you're attracted to each other, great. Are they able to take care of themselves? Not are they able to take care of themselves and you, that would be probably greatly appreciated, especially more so for the ladies than it is for the guys, but are they able to take care of themselves? Are they able to function as an autonomous individual or a grown adult? That's what you should be looking at. Are you when you see them, are you aroused to a certain extent? I'm not saying you need to have sex with this person, but do you want to? Is that something that is inside of you that you would desire, even if you are waiting until marriage, right? Because I'm not trying to devalue those things, but if that's the only thing that you are putting as parameters for whether or not you're going to be with somebody long term, I think you're missing the whole point of this. So, what is that, and how are you going to make it work? That's point number one. Point number two, after you know the intent and how you're going to make it work, you have to know that everybody is not going to fit with inside those intentions. And some of those potential candidates are going to be the ones that would be more aesthetically or more financially pleasing to you. But here's the thing, if you are setting your parameters around the things that are going to help you and be with you long term, you will know that aesthetically speaking, the looks wise, both of you are going to change at some point. And you are also going to look at the financial situation as, hey, we may not always be in this financial position, or they may not always have the status that they have now. What's going to keep us focused in and locked in with each other? That's going to be very vital. And know that everybody's not going to fit it. You don't need 50 million people to select one. You only need a few options, maybe I would say no more than two or three, and then start trying to figure out who that is. Now, how you choose to do that process and figuring out who the one is really honestly on you. But in my experience, it's a lot easier to concentrate on one person at a time to get to know them and see what their lifestyle is about and start making some decisions versus having juggling 2 to 3 people, maybe even more potentially, and trying to figure out how you're going to compare one to another. There's an old sales thing that says if you give too many people too many options, they're liable not to pick anything. But if you narrow down their choices, they are always going to select one thing or nothing. And 9 times out of 10, if you're a good salesman, you're going to select the option you either want them to choose from the beginning, or they're going to walk out empty handed. And that's if you're a bad salesman, if they walk out empty handed. So narrow off your choices a little bit. Sure, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but don't spread out, if you don't spread your eggs so far that you forget where you put your eggs. Two, realize that three, realize that sex and intimacy are two different things. If you're only looking to have casual sex, this is not for you. The act of having sex is different from intimacy. But honestly, the two go together. How do I know that? The notorious bro code, right? A man can sleep with a woman and have no intent with her at all other than to sleep with her, but then get upset with his homeboy because he slept with the same woman. Why is that? Well, because he don't want nobody else to have her, but he don't want nothing with her, which to me don't make no sense. But I'm here to prove to you that sex and intimacy go together hand in hand. The act of having sex is meant to bond the two together as one. The intimate activity of sleeping with each other is meant to bring you two together in a close fashion. This is why it shouldn't be This is why it shouldn't be engaged with until you have taken vows to each other not to separate until death do you part. Because that act is supposed to bring the closer you together. And the more and more you use that act casually and you spread it around, the more of yourself you tend to lose. So let me rephrase number 4. Intimacy and sex are not different. You have to know that. That's part of the process. That's part of the process. And it needs to be one that you take as seriously as the rest of this. And you need to know its place. Now, to those of you that have committed the act of having intercourse before marriage, and you happen to share the same faith that I do, you probably need to repent and ask God to forgive you for what you've done wrong. But nonetheless, you can redeem your relationship and still be held on and still be put on the right track with the person that you would like to potentially marry. But you gotta yield yourself to that process. You have to yield yourself to that process. What's step 5? Have intentional conversations. Yes, should you get to know each other's likes and dislikes? Absolutely. Yes, should you talk about things you want in the future? Absolutely. But there should be some intentionality in the questioning that you're asking, especially if you're considering this person as a potential mate. You need to be asking them, what is it you're thinking about in the future as far as marriage and children? What is it? What is your idea of marriage? What is your idea of being a husband or wife? What is your philosophy on life? What does your lifestyle look like? What is the religion you follow? So on and so on. These conversations need to be intentional. And I am not by all means saying ask 21 questions, because in my process thus far, I haven't had to ask 21 questions. I've just asked various questions that led into other questions about the values of life. But some of the questions you should be asking up front should be those questions that most people would be scared off by. Because remember, you're not looking for everybody. You're looking for one person to marry and run off into the sunset with. Ask the intentional questions up front. So this way, once you ask the intentional questions up front, so this way, once you know you have those commonalities and you have that stuff in alignment, you can start letting your hair down. You can start building rapport with each other. You can start figuring out where what it is you like about each other, engaging your interests, and you can think with a clear mind. Which brings me back to point number 4, which I am telling you, which I told you, that intimacy is something you shouldn't be connecting with, because oftentimes it impairs your judgment in that perspective. You have used the chemical endorphins from that and all the bodily functions and fluids that connect you to in that way. And now you can't see clearly. You can't think as clearly, because now your bodies are connected as one, and you're not thinking rationally about what you're saying to this person, or the questions that you're asking, or the intent in which you need to put in place in order to continue the process. And there's nothing wrong with being attracted to each other on that level. But it's a whole nother thing to engage in that process. These are steps, clear steps that you should be taking along that journey to engagement and into marriage, as I am seeing it, as I am walking it out. So I only got 2 more steps for you. And the last 2 steps I'm working on myself. I think it is important to tell the people in your intermediate family, the person that you are talking to, and after you find out you really like each other, they need to know who that person is, and they need to be talking to them just as much as you need to be talking to their parents or the people that they're close to, because they can see things about them, and they can tell you things about them that you may not see yourself. You need to get some trusted associates and people that are more wise than you are, maybe have experience in marriage and know about marriage, to get in on that process. But keep that circle small. You don't need to put all your business out on Front Street until everybody needs to know. And then my last point in this process is have a plan. Have a plan, especially men. Have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you need to sit down with somebody that can give you a plan. But my thing would be, if you don't have a plan, you probably don't need to be starting the process. At least a mental plan. You may not know all the uh, outside factors in how to complete that process 100%, but you at least need to have a plan. I do. I don't know how I'm going to go about all of it, but I at least have a plan. I have some kind of process in my mind of how this thing is going to shake, and put some timelines behind those. Doesn't say you need to necessarily hit those timelines, but have some parameters and timelines in which you want to try to get things done. That's the process I've been following. And I think that things will work out smooth. I think that God will bless it more. And if you're a Christian and you follow the faith of Christ, and you believe that Christ is the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, and He controls all things around you, even if you don't select the perfect spouse, God will bless it if you are doing things according to His process. Now, am I here to talk to you about the difference between courting and dating? No, no, because honestly, I don't know the difference nowadays. But the process in which you find your husband or wife should be distinctly different than the way other people do it, if you want it to be successful, if you want it to have substance, if you want that long-term marriage that your parents have, or the long-term marriage that you seen your grandparents have, or all that other stuff that we like to put out there as cliches. This process needs to be in place. If not on paper, it needs to be mentally there. And you need to have all these things in place. This has nothing to do with personal finance. This has nothing to do with how you look. This has more to do with morals, character, values, and standards. This is why I call my podcast the Standard Podcast. Because Once you have those things in place in your process, you can branch out to everything else and begin to talk about all those other things, which are considered important in moving forward, in getting to the end goal of engagement in marriage. But if you don't look at those things at the beginning of the process, you're doomed to failure. I'll leave you with this. In everything in life, we seem to have processes and procedures, right? But in the one thing that can affect our lives for forever and either doom us to failure or bring us to great success, we leave it up to chance. How about, for once in our lives, taking the one thing that could doom us to failure or bring us to prominent success, we have a plan for, we have a process for, we have a procedure for. And let's not be afraid of failure. We're not afraid to fail in other departments in our lives, in our careers, and in our entrepreneurship, in our colleges, college choices, in our career choices. Heck, for some of us, we're not even afraid to fail with the person that we have a child with. But the person we want to be in a marriage with, we just want to leave it up to chance because it's scary. And I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. Nobody can predict how a relationship is going to go. Nobody, because you're dealing with two different people that have to come together, and agree to all the parameters that they're setting for each other. But if you have this process in place, you can eliminate some of the guessing. Now, you're never going to be, I'm not saying with this process that you're going to be able to figure a person out and know without a shadow of a doubt that this person is the person for you. But you can eliminate some of the headache. You can eliminate some of the heartache. You can eliminate some of the stresses of doing things just all willy-nilly. And that's all I really want to say. Anyways, guys, thank you for checking out the Standard 81 podcast. I appreciate you so much. Go and check out my TikTok over there at the Standard 81 podcast, as well as the Instagram at Sincere the Artist. I appreciate that so much. Like, share, and subscribe, as well as comment down below. Type second watch in the comments if you are watching this after the stream goes live. And I will see you guys on the next one. God bless you all and have a great day. Peace.